Find 15 divided by square root 10 plus square root of 20 plus square root of 40 minus square root of 5 minus square root of 80, where square root of 5 is equal to 2.236 and square root of 10 is equal to 3.162. We know that denominator of this fraction can be rewrite as square root 10 is multiplication of square root 5 and square root of 2. Square root 20, it is multiplication of square root 5 and square root 4 because 5 4s are 20. Similarly, square root 40, it is square root 5 multiplied by square root of 8. Then simply minus of square root 5, and last square root 80, it is square root of 5 multiplied by square root of 16. Here we see that in the denominator all the terms have square root 5. So square root 5 can be written as a common term outside the bracket, and inside the bracket you will have square root 2 plus square root 4 plus square root 8 minus 1 and then minus square root 16. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 8 is 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 square root. Further we can say it is equal to twice of square root 2. Okay, square root of 16 is nothing but 4. So after substituting these values here in the denominator, the fraction will be simplified like 15 divided by square root 5 in multiplication with whole square root 2 plus 2 plus twice of square root 2 minus 1 then minus 4. We can further simplify it as square root 5 in multiplication with whole. Here inside this bracket square root 2 and twice of square root 2. It is thrice of square root 2. It is just like x plus 2x, which is 3x. 2 minus 1 then minus 4 is minus 3. Okay. So here we see that in the brackets there are two terms in which 3 is a common number. Further we can take 3 as a common number and we can write it outside the bracket. The fraction will become 15 divided by square root of 5 multiplied by square root of 3. Inside the brackets it is square root 2 minus 1. 3 and 15, 3 ones are 3, 3 5s are 15. The fraction will become 5 divided by square root 5 whole multiplied by square root 2 minus 1. We can multiply square root 5 to both of the terms inside the bracket. So fraction will become 5 divided by square root 5 multiplied by square root 2 minus square root 5 multiplied by 1. So it is 5 divided by square root 10 minus square root 5. So it is a fraction with irrational denominator and we are to rationalize it. In order to rationalize this fraction, we are to multiply numerator and denominator both by square root 10 plus square root 5. Okay, after doing so we will get numerator as 5 multiplying with whole square root 10 plus square root 5, and in the denominator we will have multiplication of two terms. The first is square root 10 minus square root 5 and second is square root 10 plus square root 5. Using identity a minus b into a plus b is equal to a square minus b square, where a stands for square root 10 and b stands for square root 5. We will get numerator as it is 5 times of square root 10 plus square root 5. Denominator is square root of 10 square minus square root of 5 square. It is nothing but numerator as it is The denominator is 10 minus 5. 10 minus 5 is 5. So further we can write it as 5 times of square root 10 plus square root 5 whole divided by 5. 5 in the numerator is cancelled by the 5 in the denominator, and finally you will get square root 10 plus square root 5. But you are given the values of square root 10 and square root 5. Square root 5 is 2.236 and square root 10 is 3.162. So after substituting these values here, square root of 10 plus square root 5 is 2.236. It is square root 5, and square root 10 is 3.162. So the final answer is 5.398.